Two Queens and Crystal Things.
Welcome, y'all.
The podcast where we are on some manifest your life, shift your mind, and raise the consciousness type of shit. I am Mia.
And I'm Christy. And I'm eating. I'm sorry. But you can consider us your spiritual girlfriends. Now, our last episode, we interviewed a death doula. Mm-hmm. Who would have guessed?
That was
very informative.
Fascinating. And she was fascinating.
Yeah. Doula for your soul.
People's stories are... I appreciated her story.
Mm-hmm.
So basically it's similar to a birth, a doula. We think of someone who is assisting, bringing in life. A death doula or a doula for the soul is someone who is helping people transition to the other side.
Yeah.
So check it out, you guys. So today, y'all. By the way, we are recording this on International Women's Day. So, celebrate your womanhood, ladies. I say always do it, but it's nice to have a day to make it up.
It's International Women's Day. I completely forgot, even though I talked about it earlier.
So today, we're going to talk about the much sought after. We're in the journey and you're like, where is my breakthrough? The spiritual breakthrough. And what that really means.
Goodness.
And for some reason, in this journey, we can feel like we're working towards a magical moment. That, there's this inevitable point where it all just makes sense and then we stop there. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, where everything falls into place. We're looking for the big win, but what we don't remember sometimes is that there's always a win. There's always a breakthrough. There's always this magical moment where things are falling into place and start to make sense. Mm-hmm. And when we're in the middle of it, sometimes it's hard for us to know that that's where we are.
Yeah. And
so we keep seeking something else. So the spiritual golden ticket is, I think, a concept we need to really kind of talk about, Christy. What do you think?
No, I agree. But, first of all, why do we even do this to ourselves?
Facts.
And I think we often forget that it's like this journey of life, it's ongoing. And there are going to be several breakthrough moments. And actually, as, we were working on this, or, me and I were kind of going over it, I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, this is just perfect timing. Yeah. It makes complete sense because it's just a good reminder. Because I think oftentimes you get so caught up in how come this isn't happening and how come this door isn't opening. And it's even in the chaos where there's still some change, towards...
Absolutely.
So it's just this is a really great reminder. So I'm really happy that we're discussing this. And so let's talk about a spiritual breakthrough. What it does is it takes people a step closer to your divine self. And then you get to connect with yourself at a deeper level and then gain this whole new perspective.
Which is also continually evolving. Right.
And it's I think we just get caught up in the mundane and we often forget. But, sometimes you may even feel that your prayers are being answered.
So truthfully, it's easy to lose faith.
Oh, yeah.
And when we're waiting for a breakthrough, it can appear endless. So it's the last thing you should do, in my opinion, because something may be just around the corner. We shouldn't lose faith because we're always evolving, right? But there are some pivotal moments along the journey where you can say, I turned the corner. Something happened here. But as soon as we're getting the closest to it, sometimes it feels like we are at our lowest or the furthest away from it. So we lose faith. So we only need to hold on and wait for the miracle that we created. Because our existence is something that we create. So if you have created it and seen it and visualized it, it's coming.
So, it's interesting that you were saying this because what I think of is, when you're pregnant and you're not showing, but you're pregnant.
Ah, yes.
There's still that growth that's happening. And you may not see it on the outside. It may not even look like you're pregnant. But there is still a change that's happening. And I think a lot of times we just forget about that.
Wait, speaking of being pregnant and not showing, do you remember that time of your pregnancy where you looked like you just had to take a boo-boo? You're like, okay, I'm pregnant. I'm keeping it under wraps for the meantime, in between time.
Right.
But you literally just look bloated. Like, girl, go take a boo-boo and sit down. And you feel it's to me, that was the most uncomfortable time of the pregnancy. When I got bigger, like, I didn't care about it, but that part, I was just like,
really,
that was so uncomfortable. And when I find when the stomach, round, I'm like, ooh, when it rounds out, and that felt much better. It's almost like, how you've been holding it, like almost like you holding your stomach in because your clothes don't fit. Okay, sorry, that was a sidebar. That should make me think about that though. So go ahead, Christy.
No, it's true.
But like you said, you may not be showing, but you know that you have created something.
Because creation is always happening.
Exactly.
Creating something, like in this moment, it may seem like it's nothing, but every moment we are creating it. And I'm telling you, and I know I'm getting off track a little bit, but oh my gosh, this is so, like, this is even for me, just to remember that. And I was writing at this. I journaled, Mia.
Yay!
A little bit today. But we said this before, as you speak.
Yeah.
Because creation is always happening.
Every time, we are what we believe, and I think about these quotes and everything, and one that sticks with me is, believing is seeing, not seeing is believing. When we believe and create something, and then it comes to fruition, we're able to see it. But if we're waiting for I have to see it to believe it, we really just, like, you guys, if you are, I have to believe it to see it, that means you are not creating it. You're waiting for somebody else, the hero, to come in and create something for you. But if you are believing this and inevitably seeing it in your mind, that's when you see it in 3D. But so here's a question though, Christy. Like I said, let's get back to, like, you're waiting for the spiritual breakthrough. You're waiting for these moments. And like I said, they do happen at varying levels. They never stop happening. So is it a part, do you think, of our human condition to always be striving for the next win or the next moment?
Yes, absolutely.
That sucks.
Like, that is without a doubt. But that is because that's what we are programmed. That's how we're programmed to be. And that's how we're programmed to think. Because it's like you always have to get to the next. Like, there's this society that we've built that it's almost like you will never be enough. Okay. To me.
No, that's a good point, because if we are always seeking the win or the moment, then that is inevitably some type of program to make us feel like we're never there. Whereas having the mindset that nothing else matters but this moment, it will force you to look at that moment. This is why I think death is such an important part of the human experience, because I think it gives it meaning. There is an ending to this, so I want to make it worth something and have the real experience. If you feel like, I live forever in this 3D body, it doesn't, there's something, but it just doesn't make it as effective, as important. It takes away the mission of this.
Well, if you think about it,
the purpose.
A situation you find out tomorrow or 2 weeks from now, you're going to die. you're gonna live your life completely different because because you feel like
there's a for real timeline. Like, oh my goodness.
You just want to be able to feel and be in every single moment.
You know, I find fascinating that when you ask anybody if you found out, well, I should say most people, if you find out that you're gonna die in next month or something like that, what would you do? A vast majority of people will answer, there's something of spending time with loved ones, connecting with some loved person, something. And I think it's so fascinating that the moment you are asked if you know this could end tomorrow, what will you do? Right. The first thing we think about is our loved ones and connecting with our community and connecting with our people. Yeah. But as we're living day to day, that is not something that we prioritize in our life. Anyway, look at like that.
But I do think, and I know that we can take this a whole nother way, but I feel like that's intentional. You know?
Yeah.
I really do. Okay, so what would you say? How do you calculate or how do you recognize your own spiritual growth?
Okay, so I'm going to answer this two ways. One, I think it. I think it is part of the human condition to label and calculate and have a benchmark for something because that's time. You know, this construct that we made up. So that gives us a way to say, where are we in our evolution? However, so how, I don't know that I necessarily calculate it. I'm just at a point where I understand that I am always being. There's never not a moment where I'm not being. So if we stop thinking about our life as a noun and start thinking about our life as a verb, so that means I am always in action. I am always creating, even when I'm not conscious of it.
Yeah.
So calculating where I am in the process to me means that there's an end game. That, you know, there is I'm trying to get to 100 points and then, yay, I won. And now I just sit here and wait to die. There's always a part of growing in yourself. Yeah. I don't know if that necessarily.
No, I get it.
Answered the question. What do you think?
Well, I'm kind of in your same lane. I don't feel like there is an end to it. I feel like it is a constant and daily thing. But I will say, how do I know that I've grown in certain areas?
Yes.
It's because I feel like, okay, so I am a lot more conscious of things now. Not 100%, but I'm a lot more conscious of things now. So, you know, when something happens and my perspective around it is completely different, you know, it used to get me upset or it used to get me mad.
That's a good
and now
point,
it's like,
Chrissy.
okay, well, whatever. To me, that lets me know, okay, there's been some growth there. Like, it's been, like, you know, it's
That's
like, wow, okay,
point.
this is something that I would usually be, like, pissed off. But now I'm just like, I don't even think about it.
Okay, I like that. So
I kind of look at it like.
So I think I was answering how do you calculate it, but that's an excellent point. This happened to me recently where something will happen and I'm like, I know for a fact that before this would send me off, like, you know, totally derailed, not in alignment. And now it doesn't have the same effect. Not because it's different now, it's because I'm different.
Yep.
And
and that shows growth.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. That's why I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. That's a good point.
Because you know when someone would push your buttons and they try again because that's the only tool that they have to get to you, and then it no longer affects you, and they're like, wait, I don't understand what happened.
It's like, baby, you can't.
Right.
My buttons are over here.
Right.
I'm not leaving my buttons are no longer out in the open for anybody to come by and push.
I control them.
Like, they're over here.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, that's just like, okay, wow, I remember when there was a time where I was not there.
Facts.
But.
So, how do you know when you are close to having a breakthrough?
Ooh.
A moment of clarity. You know, another piece to the puzzle. I always look at it like a puzzle, you know. Like these pieces. How do you know when you're close to that, or because. So look, wait. Let's pause real quick. Remember, you said this is a pretty timely conversation. Mm-hmm. You know, guys, we're ending the for real year. You know, spring is a new beginning. So I know for a fact, and I can speak for myself in this, that there are a lot of people who it is feeling like, when does the fog lift? When is winter over? It is, you know what I mean? And so when you think about when you think about what winter represents, it's death, but death is also transformation.
Yes.
So when does the new rebirth come? When are we fresh and new again? Yeah. So when we're close to it, I feel like it's the coldest day of winter and the darkest day. Then all of a sudden, woo! The sun comes out. The birds are back. They're out there chirping. You can feel it in the air that the shift has started. So for me, when I realize, how do I know when I'm close to a breakthrough? Is that moment when I feel like I'm at the darkest. And when I know I put in the work and really just been focused, like, okay, this isn't adding up. Like, so, you know what? Okay, the tide's about to turn. And I literally have been in moments where I'm like, the tide just turned. I can feel the energy shifts. But I know when I'm close, when it feels like nothing is happening.
That's interesting, because I feel like I've had those moments too, but I've also had those moments, and I feel like we're almost saying the same thing, maybe just in a different way, but how I feel like when you are close to having a breakthrough, that's when, like, shit hits the fan. Mm-hmm. That's when the floor just falls, everything just happens, everything is chaotic, because it's almost like the storm, the calm before the storm, I guess. I feel like before there's a change, for me, I've also experienced everything is just fucked up.
Christy, no, I love that, because to me, we are saying, so we're saying, no, it's a little different. Yeah. So I was saying, like, you feel like nothing's happening. However, that's another sign for me when I'm about to have a breakthrough, when it feels like everything broke.
Right.
What the hell is going on?
Fuck?
Right. What is going on? Why is everything falling apart? And remember, remember we've talked, and I've talked about this before. We talked about this. In order to expand, you have to break.
You have to.
When more of you, when you are becoming aware of more of yourself, more of your God self, more of your power to create and manifest this world, more of your ability to reprogram your own damn code in this crazy ass game, you there's that's a lot to take in, and we have to break in order to take it in. So it's like, or else we're just gonna be walking around some stretch mark people spiritually. You want some spiritual stretch marks? No, I'd rather break, put myself back together, and then the places where the scars would be, where the break happened, is where the light comes in. It just, like, to me, this is how I visualize it. So you're right, when it's like the SHIT has hit the fan, like, what just happened? What is going on?
Like, really?
For real? Like,
and you just want to lay in bed and just like, okay.
Chrissy, that's what I always say.
Tomorrow's a new day.
Is that what we're doing right now? I was straight.
Okay, I'm going back to sleep.
Night night.
Oh my goodness.
Here's another time. Okay, and this one is a hard one for me. When you feel like there's radio silence from the universe, when you feel like your guides aren't connecting with you, when you feel disconnected, when you I would say the best way to feel is like when you feel disconnected from your spiritual self, and whatever deities or your ancestors or whoever you're working, you feel like nothing's happening.
I've had those moments.
Now, to me, that used to be very difficult for me, because you feel like, if you start to feel like, for me, I would start to feel like, oh my goodness, what did I do? Where did they go? Why aren't you talking to me? you guys are always there. So it makes you start to second guess yourself. Mm-hmm. So now what I look at it is, it's almost like we've taught you the lesson, we've walked you through down the road. Now it's your turn. You don't need us right now. You have control over this. We'll meet you on the other side. We're right there waiting for you, baby. Yeah. Now this is the moment where you have to take control. And even when I think about like these great Greek mythological stories and Egyptian stories, and one of the things that you always notice in these stories is, even when the gods answer your prayers, there's still something you have to do. Like,
oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Nothing's for free.
Right, there's still something, like when Aphrodite told, oh my God, what was that? Paris of Troy, that, he could have, this is how the actual Trojan War started, that he could have the love that he wanted, which was Helen. And she said, okay, you got it. So it was before a contest. That's actually a fascinating story. Anyway, she said, okay, you got it. That's your woman. She didn't make her magically appear to him. She said, go to her chamber, go to her, and she'll leave with you. So he still had something to do. Now, mind you, she was married. He had to sneak up in his woman's house, and he took her. Or she went with him. We don't know. But the point is, he still had to risk something. If he had gotten caught sneaking into this man's house to go steal his woman, he would have died immediately on the spot. But because she answered his prayer, and I'm air quoting, Aphrodite answered yes, you can have her, that's yours. He went and did it. He had the confidence to do it because he was told by something outside of himself, which is really just an affirmation of love, right? That's what Aphrodite stands for. Mm-hmm. So what if we allow ourselves to be that for ourselves? Go get it because you said so. Because you created it. But you still have to do the work. You created it in your mind, you visualized it, but it does not come. There's still works to be done. Mm-hmm. So I love that though. To me, I find it empowering because if I still have to work to get it when I've created and I know I believe it, that means that it's mine, that I created this. But if I release, to me, this is just to me, if I release that power completely to something outside of myself, if I release the power completely to something outside of myself to get what I want or what I desire, then that means something can take it away. If you create it, it's yours. The only person that can take it from you or is if you release that. But if I'm waiting for Christy, you to create it and give it to me, that means that at any moment, if you feel like, that's mine.
Yeah.
You can
it's not really yours.
Exactly. So I to me, it's empowering to know that there is still some piece of me that has to make things happen.
Yeah.
And then if you get a little bit further, you realize I made the whole thing happen from rooter to the tutor. But we're going to stay there.
But sometimes, like, when I'm in that space where it seems like nothing is happening, I feel like that's the time that I'm supposed to spend by myself.
Yep.
And I'm supposed to, like, really spend time with myself and within myself and meditate and really just be with myself and get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable, because that's a really uncomfortable space. Because you've gotten accustomed to feeling and sensing and hearing from these beings, and all of a sudden it's just radio silence. You don't feel anything. You don't. Yeah. It's like, okay, what is going on? Brantley.
Excuse us, sir.
Brantley. I'm sorry, you all. It's
I
crazy.
agree. Like I told you, that's one of the more difficult times for me when it's radio silence. That kind of creeps me out. Another, I should say, indicator maybe that you are close to one of these beautiful moments in your journey is basically when people call you crazy. When people start making fun of you. When people when people outside of you, let me just say it like this. Okay. It looks like no. I'm gonna say it the right way, you guys. One of the ways that you know that you are close to having a breakthrough is when people come to you and tell you you've changed. You acting funny. Like, oh, Christy crazy. I don't know what's going on with her right now. And like she's on some different stuff, baby.
Yes.
Because people are used to having people in their lives in a certain way. So we put people in boxes. When I want this, I go to this person. When I want this, I go to this person. This person means something to me because think about it. From everybody's perspective, we are the center of the universe. From your perspective, you're the center of the universe. Yeah. From my perspective, now look at everything is surrounding me. I'm the center of the universe. Mm-hmm. So that's how we box people. You are this, 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 and this. You're the, you know what I mean? Like that's just how we perceive people and how we label them as a part of our lives. When you shift who you are and it does not fit in the box that you a whole soul, but I decided that this is who you are. Rude. So when you start to act in a way that is inconsistent with who I want and believe you to be in my life, now you acting funny.
Yeah, you're the one with the problem.
You're the one with the problem.
Yeah, been there.
You know what I mean? And that's another way to know when people who have known you and have experienced life with you in certain moments, they get disappointed or upset that you're not moving the same way. Mm-hmm. Oh, baby, it's something coming because even the people outside of you can feel the difference in you.
Right. And this takes what you were saying a little further. I do feel like sometimes you are left alone too. Like you have...
Absolutely.
Like you are isolated. Like yes. You don't have anyone.
Yes. Christy, absolutely. Which I think it also, that itself can lead to you feeling like you want to give up. When you are in the middle of you lost your friends, people say you're acting funny, you feel alone, that is a moment. That's when you know.
Yeah.
That's what, you know what I mean? That makes you feel like you want to give up. Just like, well, maybe I shouldn't have done it this way. Maybe they're right.
I've been there.
Oh, absolutely.
And recently, I'm like, okay, maybe
this isn't for right.
Maybe all the stuff that I've been thinking about and like believing in, maybe it's not.
But you want to know why? That's why. Oh my goodness. I think the reason that we start to feel that way is because it shows us that. Brian over there getting his lunch on. It shows. Oh, that's Charlie. It shows us that we're not meant to do this alone. So our tribe, those people that we are energetically connected to, you know, your spiritual people here on this planet with you, they are important too. Now, some of these people are just for a season. Some are just for lessons. And some of these will span, you know, you'll have a connection with this lifetime. So when we feel like we don't have anything, it feels foreign to us. We don't feel like we have a connection. We don't have a tribe. It feels foreign because spiritually, I mean, seriously, in our hearts, we know that I'm not here alone. So that feeling of I have no one, I feel alone, that is fear coming out. Now, let me say, I believe there are times, several times, within this journey that we have to isolate ourselves.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Isolate ourselves. There's a difference. There's a difference when you say, you know what, hey, I'm about to go up to the mountain. I'll see y'all in a minute. Love y'all, boo. And everybody you know saying, yeah, we don't rock with you no more. That's a different feeling.
Oh, I see.
One is you feel like you've been abandoned. The other one, I'm empowering. Like I know me. It's time for me to go be a hermit for a minute.
I guess I never categorized it because it just seems like it just happens organically. Like one relationship you kind of grow away from another one. You just, I don't know, but that's a good. Like what's the intention behind it?
Yeah.
Okay, so what about when you feel like, you know, you made a mistake?
Now, okay. That's interesting. What do you think?
I feel like I've had that recently too.
Right.
Oh, but I will say, you know, looking at, like, I know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I know about me is that I'll involve myself into something and then I'll kind of move away from it and I'll get into something new and I'll, you know, move away from that. But with spirituality, it really fucking being accountable for everything that I've done in my life and really empowering myself by shifting the way that I think, all of that stuff. I am then remembered, like I'm reminded, no, this has been a commitment, like this, and I feel it, like it's something that I agreed to do. I feel like it is part of my purpose, and I've never had that before. So then I'm reminded, like when I feel like, oh man, I made a mistake. It's like, no, this is your purpose. And even even the hard stuff, yeah, sure, it's hard, but it's just a different type of hard.
So, a mistake? No. So I'm agreeing with you, and I'm adding to it. So if we even look at what does it mean to make a mistake? That means that we've made a judgment that an action that we made is good is not good. So we're judging ourselves. Right. So let's start there.
But it's a lesson.
Exactly.
Like now it's like my whole perspective on stuff has shifted because I look at everything as a lesson. Like we came here to Earth to learn.
And I'm going to go back to what I say all the time. The breaking process calls for chaos. It calls for what we'll call a mistake. It calls for the lesson. It calls for the trauma. So when we feel like we've made a mistake, that means we are holding shame. That means that we're holding guilt for our actions. Now, that does not mean that people should not be accountable for what they do to others.
Yes, agreed.
But we also understand that even in that, don't get mad at me, y'all. Even in that, that's an opportunity for growth.
I agree.
Even in that.
I agree, but I will admit that there are still some times where I do feel guilty.
Yeah.
Where I do feel bad. But then I also sit in that for a while, and of course I start asking myself, well, why do you feel this? Why do you feel that? And then I get to a point where it's like, well, no. I'm okay with that. And then I realize, like, no, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is part of my purpose. You know?
Yep.
It's not a. But even though I know that, I still question.
Well,
like this battle between being human and. Sorry.
I'm scared. Okay, so
sorry, you all. Be quiet, Brantley.
So I think.
Brantley. Come here.
I think one of our, I don't want to say purposes, one of the things that we're here to learn, let's just say from where I stand, is how to be and understand your divine self as a human. So guilt and shame, I think, are things that in our evolution that we learn how to release. Honestly, I really think that that's part of the evolutionary process. Because think about it. That's literally us being upset at ourselves.
Yeah.
And not allowing us to see, look, that might have been what it was, but that's not what it is.
That's not what it is.
And that's not who and what I am right now.
And I'm getting there. There are days where it's good, and there are days where it's just like, but
I mean, think
again, my
about it.
perspective is different. Like everything is a lesson. Like what can I learn from it?
Anything.
No.
Wait, Brantley's so cute, y'all. I'm sorry. Anything that you judge is teaching you how acceptance. So when you have guilt and shame, that's something that you're judging within yourself, which means that's something that you need to accept within yourself. So I do think, which I think is all part of ego, but that's something, again, that is a part of our evolutionary process within ourselves. Remember, we talked about this. Why is it so easy to forgive others? But the way that we don't forgive ourselves and what we hold on to, this ick, which is guilt and shame, and we're literally jeopardizing our own evolutionary process to get to our I amness. Girl, bye. Why?
Yeah. There was this reel that I saw on Instagram, and it was basically her finding out that she was the one standing in her own way. You know, and basically not being accountable for the type of shit that she did. But it's a journey. You know, all of this is a journey.
So I will say, I don't think, or I don't believe that forgiving yourself, being okay with who you are today, understanding you're not what you were, but you are what you are today, does not mean that you don't hold yourself spiritually accountable. You don't hold yourself accountable. So we've talked about people, try to spiritually bypass. And so they'll, say things like, oh, that was the old me. I'm above that now. So part of releasing the judgment of yourself is holding yourself accountable for the waves that you made, regardless of whether or not you're like, we can't skip the acknowledgement of what we've done and then go to, that's not me anymore. Because regardless of whether or not we want, and that's the hard part for people. That's where the shame and the guilt come in. Like, I dropped a pebble in the pond. It made some waves. I can't take those waves back, but I can acknowledge I did drop that.
Right. Like that was me.
That was me, and man, why did I do that? You know what I mean? You start having those real questions with yourself.
Yeah, it's about being accountable.
So, anywho. So what's your takeaway, Christy?
So the whole waiting for the spiritual breakthrough. Again, the waiting. I don't know. It seems like there's that end, but it's like just being present in every moment. Yeah.
Now is now.
Right, and that's where you're supposed to be. Like, that's where the magic happens. And I forget that. Like, that's what I was saying. Like, this was actually a good reminder for me. Because oftentimes I'm waiting and waiting and waiting, and I'm not in the present.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? What's your takeaway?
I would actually challenge people to, instead of waiting for the breakthrough, because it's happening, right? Acknowledge the growth that you are in. There's something about acknowledging where you are, what you've attained, what you've created, that brings more of that energy to you.
Right.
So instead of if you're thinking about when is it going to happen, you're literally, it's like almost like you're what do you call it, elongating, like you're delaying the process. Thank you. Like you're delaying the process. Whereas if you are in the moment that you're in right now and you are acknowledging your growth, it brings about more growth, because then you're in a position to further acknowledge growth.
I agree. Like, it's like there's this constant movement forward as opposed to like that waiting. It's almost like you're stagnant.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So you guys are temple work this week, right?
Oh, get out your journals, y'all.
Please. Thank you.
I got mine out earlier today.
We're closing the year off. You know, winter is coming to an end. And it's time to start a new cycle. Oh, yummy. So as we were talking about waiting for that spiritual breakthrough and acknowledging your growth, what I would like for you guys all to do is sit down and think about the top 3 things, items, whatever it is, you know, and breakthroughs, these moments in your life that have happened since this time last year. When winter was ending last year and you started the new cycle, and at the spring equinox in March 2022, what has transformed in you? What transmutations have taken place? What have you created? What has changed? Or how has your mindset changed? And just 3 things. If you can go as long as you want to, but there now, and again, what I just said, what we're doing is creating the energy of always acknowledging your breakthrough, which brings more breakthrough, which brings more moments. Celebrate those moments, and yes, get ready for spring, y'all.
Ooh, I cannot wait. I'm like, I was feeling the sun on me. Oh my goodness.
Here comes the sun.
I cannot wait.
Oh, what day was that? Today's what, Wednesday? So was it Tuesday or Monday? I don't know what day it was, but it was like 50 degrees outside here in Chicago, you guys.
Oh, my
and the sun was out.
Oh,
it felt like 70.
It felt
I just had
amazing.
to get outside. I'm just like, oh my goodness.
It was, I remember that.
It's just, I appreciate those.
Yes, my mood, like you could feel
child,
it. Like, my mood shifted. I was happy. The birds were chirping. Like everything was just like, oh my gosh, I could hear the leaves. I could hear the little birds chirping. I could hear the little dogs in the neighborhood. It's like everything is like,
you know, and there's this smell for me that lets me know it's almost time, and it's wet like dirt smell. Yeah. But it's not mud. It's a different smell.
Yeah, that's a good description.
Wet dirt. When I go outside and I smell that, I'm like, oh baby, it's time for the percolate.
Oh my gosh.
That wet dirt smell.
That song.
No, damn it. I want to fight her. So Christy is right before we started recording, y'all. This girl, she's like, "What's that one song? You know, whenever women hear, oh Jesus, here she goes. Help!
Oh, back that it is back.
I said this heifer, yeah. She kept saying, you know that song that whenever a woman hears, no matter what they do, she gonna drop and get up there and start dancing. I said, back that thing up. She said no, and then she's up there making these ghost beats, dun dun dun. I'm like, back that thing up. No, it's not.
Whoops.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Whoops.
And then I'm sitting up here like we literally spent 30 minutes trying. I'm like, okay, is it this? Is it this? I'm going through every twerk song I can think of, and this one,
my bad.
Woo, child. So now, you know that was going to bother me. Then you brought it up. I'd forgotten about it. You bogus for that, Christy.
No, it just popped in my head. My bad.
Okay. All right, y'all. Thank you for listening to us.
Yes.
We appreciate you guys. Yeah, I'm excited. I got that wet dirt smell in my nose now. I'm excited. I do too. I want to tell you this. No. I'm going to do this exercise. There's the 3, because as I was saying it, I was thinking like, whoa, this is about to be fun. Because, baby, I know for a fact there has been some leaps and bounds from this time last year to now. Oh yes.
Can you repeat the 3 again?
You pick your 3.
I'll pick your 3.
What the top 3 things that have transformed, transitioned, whatever, changed in your life? Like, you are not today who you were a year ago. And when you think about what are 3 big ones, and you can do as many as you want to, but I want you to I like 3, yeah. So let's think of what those top things. It could be a mindset. Remember, Christy, you said earlier, when when something happens that you know would normally bother you, and it no longer bothers you, that's a movement. That's a transition.
Right.
So if somebody cuts you off in traffic, that's
Okay.
just whatever. It doesn't do the same thing, because you're like, that's about them, not me.
Right.
Baby, you go ahead.
I hope you get there safely.
I hope you got it. You got it. You know. So it could be like, I no longer feel the need to rush, or I no longer allow what people say to me to make me question who I am. There's so many things. And think of some examples in your life. And like I said, it's going to bring in that energy of celebrating breakthroughs, celebrating moments, celebrating your evolutions. Like, come on, y'all. We got this.
That's fuel for the fire.
Right? Okay, you guys. You know what?
So true.
We talked about the tribes today, how important it is for your tribes, and to we're a part of the collective. We're not here alone. So as a reminder, make sure you share the podcast with your tribe. We all want to be a part of the conversation of our own evolution, and how, and sometimes it helps to hear how other people are evolving and what we're learning along the way. So follow us on IG. At 2 Queens Crystal Things. You know where to find Christy and I. You can follow Christy at Christy R. Edwards. And you can follow me at Wings
Unleashed 444. And honestly, just going back to the whole tribe thing, it is really important to have a connection, with like-minded people. Nowadays, it will be surprising, but a lot of people are starting to awaken.
Absolutely.
People that you would never expect. People who are like,
I expect all of y'all to.
Right. If you're listening to this,
I expect everybody to go through there. That's my hope, I should say.
But you'll be surprised, like more people. So share, even if it's with someone that you think wouldn't be accepting or willing. Share.
A lot of people are just nervous to allow themselves to be vulnerable with other people about where they are in their evolutionary process, because we don't have those conversations. So if we're not talking to one another, we remember like, I'm gonna keep this to myself. And then somebody might come over your house and see some sage, something, be like, oh, you got sage, and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And then it's a whole nother connection, because you guys, you got to think about it. It's still a part of your energy. So if you are continuing to attract people in your life who've been in your life, and you are changing and they're still a part of it, you got to think something energetically is still having us next to each other. And it might be that we're on the same wavelength to our own awakening of our I am self. That's all. People might be in different parts of that process, but it's still there. Yeah. All right, y'all. Until next week.
Yes. Thank you. Light, peace,
love and soul. Bye, guys.